New FM, Malolele, you're tuned in to your new drive with me, Sia. It's Friday afternoon, and guys, I am excited. We're about to get into a little bit of a deep talanoa. And anyone who listens into the new drive, you know that a lot of the time I don't get deep. I talk about like food and, you know, the struggles of my 10-week challenge that finishes tomorrow. But right about now, I want to make a bit of a disclaimer, okay? So us here at New FM, we're not here to take sides or give priority to one voice over another, okay? We are a Pacific platform, so we're here to hold the space to continue to talanoa that has arisen over this last week on social media. I also want to check out their invitation to any of our Pacific musos or influencers that are tuned in. If you ever want to like to contribute to this talanoa, please, by all means, hit us up here at New FM. Now, you're probably thinking, what the heck is Sia going on about adding in this disclaimer? After posting a tweet that went viral addressing anti-Blackness in the hip-hop community here in Aotearoa and the use of the N-word within our Pacific communities, there's a goal of today's talanoa to start the conversation, address the issues that have come from this tweet, and just to educate us, our Pacific people right here, on how we can show support to African community, not just here in New Zealand, but also worldwide. So in saying that, malo lele, talofa lava, going all the way to the US of A, we have got Krit on the line via Zoom. How are you doing this afternoon, bro?
Hey, I'm doing good. Malo lele, Sia. Thanks for having me.
Now, you know, just fill us in. Whereabouts for anyone that doesn't like know where in the States you are, can you fill us in a little bit about where in the States you are and what are you currently doing out there?
Yeah, for sure. Right now, I'm up in the Bay Area, so it's Ohlone territory, you know, unceded Ohlone territory. But yeah, I'm up here and I'm doing a bunch of writing and consulting for different organizations. So yeah, it's keeping me busy.
Nice. And on that note, you know, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself, Krit? Like, I guess, where in the Pacific are you representing?
Yeah, sure. My parents are from Samoa. My dad's from Lotopa and Safotu, and my mom's from Awhenga and Siumu. But I was born and raised in Porirua.
What is it like being a Kiwi in the States? Sorry, I'm being nosy now because I'm like, I've never been to the States. So you're like one of the few that I get to experience what life as a Kiwi in America is like.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I've just been here for so long. I don't really think about it. Yeah, I think when I first came here, you know, everyone's like, you're this novelty, and it's like, oh wow, he's got an accent and all that stuff. But I don't know. I kind of when I see other New Zealanders who go into restaurants and or Australians especially, oh, they'd be obnoxious as hell. Like they'd be talking loud so everyone can hear them. You know, so everyone can be like, wow, listen to the accent. I'm not that person at all. I don't give it. Like I just keep my head down. Yeah, I was gonna say swear word. I mess with my friends, and that's about it. My friends and my family. So yeah, these days, you know, we're all working from home and stuff. So it's like, you know, I don't really see myself as much of you know, as this kind of sore thumb sticking out or whatever, you know.
Yeah. But you know, it's funny when you said the accent thing, because I was like, I think it was last year or the year before where I saw one of those American shows was talking about like that survey said that New Zealand had the sexiest accent in the world. And I was like, are they sure?
Yo.
But
I mean, you know, no, but that's what cracks me up, right? Because New Zealand accents are so different depending, like, you know, where you're from or you know, your ethnicity or whatever. Like, I'm from Porirua, so I still sound like I'm from Porirua, you know what I'm saying? So I don't think, you know, when they talk about New Zealand accents, I think they're talking about, you know, white people, you know, from New Zealand. I think that's what it is. But yeah, I don't think it's sexy.
I'm glad you still have your Porirua accent because, you know, like, I have friends and I still pull them up with this and like all of a sudden they just talk Australian. I'm like, how is it you moved there as an adult and already you're sounding like the children that are born and raised?
Yo, it's bad. Like, yeah.
But anyways, we're here today, Kurt, to talk about, you know, a little bit about the tweet, and we're gonna go from there. So first of all, let's just kind of you know, we're going back to basics to start off the talanoa. What is anti-Blackness?
Okay, so I mean, we're having this talanoa, but you know, if someone wants to ask me that, I'll be like, do your Googles, like just Google it, right? But anti-Blackness, like when you think of like white supremacy, right? I think more people are more familiar with that term. You know, that's the idea that white people are the most intelligent, they're the most beautiful, they're the most athletic, they're just the standard of everything, right? Anti-Blackness is the opposite of that, right? And it's when you look at Black people people and you think they're the ugliest, they're the dumbest, they're, you know, the slowest, they're you know, the least intelligent. Like, it's looking at them as if, you know, they're inhuman, basically. So there's a spectrum, right? And depending where you are, the closer you are to white, you know, the better you're treated, the better you're seen, you know, the more human you are. And the closer you are to black, you know, the opposite of that, the less, you know, the less human you are, the less you deserve rights, the less beautiful you are, the less, you know, smart you are. So, you know, as Pacific people, we kind of fall in between that. And so, you know, wherever you are on that spectrum, kind of, you know, that really, oh my God, what's the word I'm looking for? It dictates how you're treated and viewed in society. You know, that's underpinned by white supremacy because, you know, every society in the world has been affected by it.
That's true. And you know, thank you for just breaking that down before we get right into the talanoa. So, you know, obviously, like I said at the beginning, there was a tweet that you posted and kind of just really has sparked this social media conversation. I'm going to read out the tweet for anyone out there who hasn't heard about the tweet just yet. And it says this: walked away from a recent hip hop documentary in New Zealand because my gut feeling was that people involved were problematic, aka love using the N-word. Too many Māori Pacific people indulge in Black culture without paying respect. It's not just giving shout outs, it's interrogating anti-Blackness. And so based off this tweet, Kurt, I want to ask you, what do you think is the or common attitude of our community, our Pacific community towards Black culture?
I think everybody loves it. You know, it's clear from the ways that we engage in it in terms of, you know, if you just look at New FM, like the music we play and the ways that we're being influenced, whether it's hip hop, R&B, whether it's reggae. When you look at other, like the Polynesian Panthers, you know, we've just been influenced by Black culture in so many ways. The ballroom scene, you know, the Vogue scene in New Zealand as well. You know, so our queer community, we've been inspired by different movements out here, right? So I think we gravitate towards Black culture because there's something in it that just resonates with us. And I think, you know, in a lot of ways, Black people have kind of set the blueprint for marginalized groups around the world in terms of what creativity and excellence can rise up from oppression, right? And so there's something that really connects us in that sense as marginalized peoples ourselves. And so, yeah, we engage in Black culture, we love it. But I think there's just the disconnect lies in terms of how we view Black people and how we treat them and just Blackness in general, you know, going back to that scale I was talking about, right? Nobody's there's nowhere in the world that hasn't been affected by it. So it's something that's internalized and a lot of people just haven't had the guidance or the education to really understand that and just deprogram it within ourselves.
Yeah, see, because excuse me, almost lost on my own breath there. But this week is an example of the need within our Pacific people to have more of conversations on these issues that we either considered are or taboo for our Pacific people, right? So like the anti-Blackness and colorism, because people have these conversations behind the scenes in their own little circles and whatnot. But, you know, you talk about like maybe not having the guidance or the education. What is a suggestion that you have on how do we start these talanoas and even just like within our own circles and maybe in our own workspaces or in our communities?
Yeah, well, here's my thing, right? Like today with the internet, like there are so many great influencers who are putting this information out there for free, you know, and I think it's a matter of just following the right people. I think it's a matter of reading literature, you know, just getting into books. Like even on my page, I've posted books that you can read that could really help you understand what's going on. Like, oh my God, where is it? Well, yeah, anyway, if you go to my page, like there's books lying out there, but you know, when you're following people, you have to follow people who are very, very intentional about the liberation of, you know, Black people or the liberation of all our people, you know, and I recommend following people who have intersectional identities. You know, it's not just like like Black women, for instance, or Black queer women, for instance, or Black queer femmes, or non-binary Asian people, or, you know, there's a bunch of different people who have multiple experiences of this, of oppression. And so it's like, how do we how do we engage with them and listen to them?
Yeah. And you you talked a little bit before, dropping in about New FM, and I think it went without it was a question I think that a lot of our team was thinking like, oh, why did he at New FM? So I want to ask you, like, in your post where you tagged not only us, but you tagged other radio stations as well. Why did you particularly choose to tag in New FM as in that particular post also?
So I tagged New FM flavor in my I was very intentional about that because I feel like this is our problem, right? It's something within our people, the offenders, the people who made these comments and caused the harm. They're Māori and Pacific people. So I feel like it's a discussion to be had between us and it's something for us to fix. And I wanted it to stay an inside conversation, but nobody reached out, right, in that time. And so I was like, I don't want white people to be part of this conversation. Well, they need to have their own conversation, but I don't want them telling us or judging us on what we're doing. I need us to kind of take that initiative, right? And so I was like, come on now, let's start this conversation so we can get the ball rolling. Otherwise, you're going to leave me with no option than to go to mainstream media. And then now everybody knows, and it's like, well, that's what happens, like now you're kind of forced to do it, right? Because if you don't, you're going to look like you're turning your back, like you're just turning a blind eye to it. And that causes even further harm, right? Like that's just as harmful as the initial kind of harm caused, because now this is willful ignorance. Like you just don't even want to, you're a bystander at this point and you're actively working not to address these issues.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, on behalf of our team, like I think I'm okay to say, thank you on actually tagging New FM, because, we are in a time with a theme of accountability. Not gonna lie, everyone knows it's so common on social media. And, lately, since like when you shared your truth on your social media platform, there are New Zealand hip hop artists where their truth is they say, you know what, Kurt, you've taken things out of context, you've acted out of line. What are the thoughts on the way you and others have approached this situation on social media? Because in this day and age, like people they talk about cancel culture, or like let's call people out, but what are your thoughts on the way like you and other well-known brown influencers as well here in Aotearoa have handled this situation on social?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm not very well known. Like I'm not out there putting my music out, like I'm nobody, compared to these artists who people love and cherish and really look up to, right? So my thing is, I just want to say cancel culture is a myth. Like I hate that term because it was created by white conservatives to dismiss Black people who were holding people accountable. It was a way to just trivialize and diminish, the very real issues that they had, and it's a way to just be like, oh, they're just canceling, they're just fussing over nothing. And it's like, no, these are real things that need to be addressed, right? And there should be consequences when you cause harm. So for me, when I saw that video, right, whatever their intention was, they can say whatever about context, whatever their intention was. If they meant to say something else, that's not what they actually said, right? They're using words like ownership over another culture. Whether they were saying, oh, who owns hip hop in New Zealand? Oh, everybody owns it. Like, no, that's not true. Like, not everybody owns it because it belongs to a specific people and it came out of a very specific experience in the US. So for me, whatever their intent was, that's not what they said, and that caused harm, right? And the thing is, with documentaries and just with anything, that you're putting out in public, you go through these, you think through them. Like a public documentary, so many people have had to see this before it went to air, right? And none of them caught the harm. None of them thought, hey, you know what, this could be offensive. So they didn't have that consideration for Black people, right? They didn't have that care. So why should I or anyone else give that care and consideration in return? They're not entitled to that, right? They went and did this thing, and now they're like, well, we didn't know, like, you should call me first and hold my hand through this and explain to me. Like, no, they're gonna look at me, and if I was to call, like, imagine me calling up DLT and being like, hey bro, like what you said was actually it could be seen as really bad. he's gonna look at me and be like, who the hell are you? So I was very intentional of, it's very easy to dismiss me because I'm not Black, right? So I was very intentional of making this aware to Black people so that they could see straight from the community that they're harming, how this was inappropriate and just really just off. Like it was bad. Like there's no way you can. And here's the other thing, Mariko, I don't believe some of those comments were out of context, because when Mariko came onto my page and commented, he doubled down. So it's like they do believe this. He does believe that this doesn't belong to Black people, and people check them. And it's like I just don't buy it. Like those comments, whichever way you spin it, they still say this. It all comes to the same thing, which is hip hop does not belong to the Black community. Yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah, thank you for that. And and I mean, what I love about today and us having the talanoa with Crit is that we're starting to have the conversations. But most importantly, the thing for me is, a lot of the time, sometimes our Pacific people, when we try to talk about these things, it's like this. It's like, oh my gosh, we're all gonna jump on top of each other. And like, can we just, address these issues or these talanoas or these topics like with respect and with love? Because I mean, it's better. Can I speak English first of all? But I mean, thank you, Crit, because I appreciate the time that you dropped us today. And in saying that, if anyone out there, out of our Pacific musicians, influencers out there, and you want to jump on to the talanoa, honestly, here at New Fem, like we invite you, come through. Let's actually have the talanoa and have it in a safe space. So, Crit, thank you so much for making time for us all the way from the US of A to talk about this. Hopefully, we'll be able to catch up with you again later on in the future. But I want to give you the last say. Any last words that you want to share with everyone, whatever it may be?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you, Sia, for the opportunity. But I really do want this to start the conversation, because I think it's one that's just long overdue. And I have no judgments around the fact that we have ignorance, and that's okay. It's just about accepting that, because we can't change something that we're not honest about. We can't change something until we acknowledge that it's there, right? Because if you don't, then it's like, then there's nothing to worry about, and you won't really dig into it. So I really appreciate New FM. You were the first radio station of the 3 that I tagged to reach out. And I hope, I hope this really contributes to a discourse that really has to happen.